Welcome to another episode of the Fanzone podcast, your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. Episode 58 of the preview show, of course, playing Wrexham this coming Saturday. I'm saying good evening, but of course, if you're listening back on audio, got to give you guys a bit of a nod to that. So good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time you're listening to this. Tonight, of course, joined by myself and Chris. How are you this evening, Chris?
Very well, thank you, Colt. Yeah, all good. Looking forward to Saturday. Renewed sense of optimism and all that.
Absolutely. New manager bounce, as they call it. And of course, as you'll see, we're also joined by Tim from Fearless in Devotion. Tim, how are you? Are you well?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, I'm over yesterday. I was over at the time, to be honest, but not that Peterborough fans would think otherwise. They find it hard to comprehend that we're not that bothered about a trip to Wembley, but it's genuinely true.
I saw your I watched your video earlier, Tim, your somewhat philosophical retrospect of the whole event, which would have been just after the game, I guess, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was about an hour later, and I just I don't know, sometimes you just feel like you want to have a bit of a mini, I think I called it like a measured rant or something, and just offer a bit of perspective on stuff, really, what the bigger picture is and so on and so forth, and more a case of how, our cloak of invincibility at home has very much been chucked into the mud and stamped on, really. So it was more a case around that. But yeah, we've been 4 times. A lot of clubs have never been once. So you can't afford to be too greedy about it,
Yeah, priorities and all that, innit?
Exactly.
Exactly that, Chris. You guys have got plenty of other priorities to be focusing on, of course, starting with this weekend's game against Bolton Wanderers. I think it's important that we get into the season so far as Wrexham and are concerned. So as it stands, Wrexham sitting pretty in third following promotion from Sky Bet League 2. I mean, from the outside looking in, it seems like a hell of a season, Tim. From your perspective and the many Wrexham fans around, was it kind of expected, or are you still kind of pinching yourself at the current situation?
Probably a mixed bag, but I think the large percentage of us were just like, let's just stay up, which sounds ridiculous, but I think when you spend that long in non-league and then you finally get out, I think that the building blocks are always in place to see, could we do it? Could we do back to back? And other teams have done it. We're fortunate to be one of those teams now. So I think that a couple of people use the word consolidation, and I was like, I can see where you're coming from, but whilst we're in this throes of having this winning mentality and this habit, and we're really on this roll, why shouldn't we aim for something that might be beyond our reaches at the first time of asking? I don't think anybody expected us to go up last season. We had a bit of a wobble, and a lot of people thought, well, if it's not this season, it's next. And I think that's probably still the mantra now. If it's not this season, then maybe it's the next. So, it's all about building, and yeah, it would be great to be the first team to do National League through to the Championship. It would be great to do it. But then, quite rightly, the question is asked, are you ready for the Championship? The answer is no, absolutely not. Often on the pitch, we're not ready for it. But when you're presented with the opportunity to be in a position to reach it, that's why we've had the January transfer window that we've had, where we've finally thrown a significant bit of money at it. For us, it still feels weird to me that we've got a £2 million striker, which is like peanuts compared to so many of the clubs. But in my head, it's just madness. It doesn't feel like 5 minutes. We were rattling our kids' piggy banks to try and save a club, and now we're spending £2 million on a player. It's just, it's crazy. And you always, every time, you have to have a pinch yourself moment. Otherwise, you can get too entitled. And there's certain elements of the fan base know that are that. it does pay me to say it, but it's going to happen. Success, breeds expectation. And if you don't win every game, or you don't win it by a handsome margin, or a certain style is not good enough for some people, which is madness, personally.
It links quite nicely into this comment that's just come through in the chat, Tim, from Leslie. Good evening, Leslie. Leslie says, "Hi, Tim. Seeing a lot of posts on social media where Wrexham fans are unhappy with Phil Parkinson. Is that true?"
I don't think so. I would say the majority are still firmly behind him. He's got so much credit in the bank. Why wouldn't he? You look at his record. And this sounds absolutely like melodramatic by some margin, but I'd love to see what his record is like over, certainly under since coming to Wrexham, compared to other managers from around the globe in terms of their record. I know it's incomparable in terms of levels and so on, but he knows how to win games. Whether he's the person to win games in the Championship, that's still open to question, so on and so forth. A lot of stuff has been levelled at
that situation with him.
yeah.
A lot of stuff has been levelled at him. His tactics, this, that, and the other. And look, it's when we win a game, everything's pretty rosy. If we lose a game, it's it's disgrace. It's one-dimensional. We're getting found out. It's like, come on. Like I understand it, and that's the fickleness of being a football fan, right? But I swear to God, Phil Parkinson knows more about football management than any of us ever will.
Oh,
right, that's 100%. A fact. It's a fact. So until somebody sat behind me can say, I've managed 700 games, and hello, I didn't know Neil Warnock was sat behind me. It's bollocks. So you have to have I know people are entitled to their viewpoint because they pay their money, but there has to be an element where you have to measure it and go, is that a realistic opinion? I had a little thought about this. Is Parky reaching a certain limit of what he can do with a club? But then I was like, I felt disgusted with myself for even doubting him.
That's all you need to know, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it would be massively hypocritical based on what I just said. So ultimately, you have to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's won more matches than he's lost. I don't get it. We're within spitting distance of second, and is it about somebody said this to me, and I can't remember who it was, but they said, is it about the journey or is it about the destination? That's always stuck with me, and it's always been about the journey. If we play horribly and we sneak a 1-0 win that gets us into second place against you guys, it's all about the journey,
Yeah.
So, and some people want to see us play wonderful tippy-tappy football, but then at the expense of the result. It's mad.
Yeah, your team hasn't been built to play that way either. Let's be perfectly honest. He's brought the players in to suit his proven style. So I don't think many Wrexham fans can expect too much as far as that's concerned. In my view,
no. I think when Dean Keats left the club, I don't think anybody in sort of Wrexham fandom said, "Oh, if you could imagine, you drew up a job description of what Wrexham's manager is now, the next Wrexham manager should look like. What would it say?" And they would just put on it to win at all costs, by any means, to get us out of this league. It's precisely what he's done. It's precisely what he continues to do. So, you know what? I think he's one of the best managers ever had. I don't care what anybody says, for what he's done, what he's achieved in a short space of time under huge pressure and under a vast amount of public glare and scrutiny. Hats off to him. And wherever he ends up next after us, if he just carry on, he'll do just as good a job, no doubt.
It's very hard to argue with that. You mentioned a wobble last season. I'm not going to say this is a wobble by any stretch, but the last few kind of games, if you're looking at your kind of last 6 games, you've dropped a few points. I think obviously losing a couple and drawing obviously at Birmingham, against Birmingham, should I say, which is no, bad thing. But bit of an inconsistency there. Tim, is that a concern, especially given the result last night?
Yes and no. I mean, every team generally has a patch of inconsistency. It's if you have 2 or 3 patches, that's when you're going to end up mid-table. If you have the odd patch or it's a mini patch, then you can go, well, you can deal with that. And it was a similar story this time last year where I think we lost 5 in a row in all competitions. and we were like, oh, we're not going to go up. It's slipping away, blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of like a rinse-repeat moment now. You know, we've had this amazing home record, and because that's fallen off with 2 successive home league defeats, and then last night with penalty shootout defeat, I think it's bred an element of OCD that you want to protect this amazing home record, and when it doesn't quite work, it's like, oh well, you know, how dare we? But then our away form has been better, and our home form's got worse. So we've just flipped it upside down.
With last night, Tim, sorry, against us, obviously you fielded a weaker team in the. We'll always call it the Papa John's because that's what it was called when we won it. And
LDV Vans when we won it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Was it the same last night with Peterborough? And did they field a weakened team also?
Well, it's hard to say that we field a weakened team. We didn't field what Parky would consider to be his strongest 11, but then he's built a squad that he feels does have strength and depth about it, and that's what you need if you're going to compete or, you know, have some sort of momentum, whether it's cup to league, league to cup, you know, wherever it must be. So Peterborough had a few players cup tied, to my understanding, a few players injured, but you know what, they were faster, fitter, and I hate that term, but they did win it more in the end. Once they got that first goal, I knew, I was like, this is going to go one of 2 ways. We're either going to lose it outright or it's going to go to penalties. And like Parky said, we've only got ourselves to blame, and he's right. But one good thing I will say about Parky, he doesn't shy away from stuff. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He will tell you how it is, because he is a football fan at the end of the day. He's not going to tell you something that isn't true because you've witnessed it with your own eyes. Yeah. It's counterproductive to do that. You know, you're not pulling the wool over anybody's eyes. So yeah, maybe it's a bit of a mental reset that some of these players need, but some of the players we brought off the bench yesterday, you know, when we were leading comfortably, and you would think in any previous time you bring players like Mullin, Lee, Fletcher off the bench to hammer the final nail in, and it was completely the opposite. Like, it was so weird. Players that played themselves out of form. Are they at the end of the road with the club? Too early to say. Really too early to say. But yeah, it's a weird one, and you know, you have to sort of hold your hands up and say well done to Peterborough, because you know they forced that lottery and they won it. Simple as that. Yeah. And they could be the first team to defend that trophy. But tough opposition. I'll be honest with you. You know, it's Birmingham's title to lose, isn't it? They'll want to do the double this year.
Oh God, yeah. I think it's got to be done.
Yeah. Massive thank you to the 109 people currently watching live. If you could do us a huge favour and like and subscribe if you've not done already, it does go a long way. But of course, as we touched upon already, we play Wrexham this weekend, and there's 1 or 2 injuries knocking about. So let's get an update on that.
Yes, injuries indeed knocking about. We'll come on to Tim's update in a sec, but from a Bolton perspective, we haven't got any more strikers. They've all gone, sold them, or they're injured. It's not that bad. Unfortunately, Victor Adebayo, who came on as a substitute in the victory versus Leyton Orient on Saturday, then went off, and he's got a problem with his knee. There is potential. He's with a surgeon and they're looking at maybe surgery. So if that's the case, obviously he'll be out for the rest of the season. So that leaves us a little bit threadbare up top, shall we say. So, but we move. Owen Toll is back in full training and back to full fitness after a little break on Saturday, which is great news. Gethin Jones is still struggling with a rib injury, which he sustained against Shrewsbury, I believe, away. Ricardo Santos has had, I was going to say a setback. It's not. He's been hit with a an illness at the early part of this week, which has stopped him getting back to full fitness this week. So he will not feature. Kyle Dempsey has trained this week, albeit 0 contact. So that's really positive news. Obviously, the early signs were that we would not see him again this season. Possibly we will. And in good news, Chris Farino and Carlos Mendes-Gomez are now fully fit. Great to see that we've utilised the B team with their recuperation. Both played earlier this week. Chris Farino played last week in the academy team and obviously featured against Leyton Orient. So not that bad at all.
With the regards to Carlos Mendes-Gomez, I think that could be a bit of an ace up the sleeve type of situation if we can keep him fit, because he's very much proven at this level, and I understand in the past he has played through the middle as well, which could provide us with a bit of an option in certain situations. But more importantly, especially for him, I think, 2 things really. Steven Schumacher said he likes him on a couple of occasions, I've noticed. And that may be because obviously he likes to play wingers, and it's something that Mendes-Gomez has also done in his past. So we might see a little bit of him as we close in towards the end of the season. Before we move on, we've had a question. I don't really know where it's gone, and he wasn't with you very long, and I apologise because I've lost it. But, there we go, it's off Liam. He's asked, what did you think of Bodvarsson, Tim? I know you didn't see much of him from what I understand, but what you did see, what were your thoughts?
I was gutted that he didn't get longer, because I love Iceland as a country. I went there twice last year, so I was absolutely buzzing that we finally signed an Icelandic player. I was dead excited by it. I was dead excited by the songs. Yeah, I was excited. I was excited by the songs he had. I was like, yes, we got a player with proper solid headband, full head of hair, throwback to the 90s, all that sort of stuff. He didn't get a sniff. He didn't get a look in. I think he was not a panic stopgap. Or maybe it was a panic stopgap. I don't know, but it didn't get much game time at all. And the game time he had didn't really do much at all. And then it was sod's law. As soon as he goes to Burton, he's knocking them in for fun. So yeah, it was literally not enough from my point of view. But we were in a weird situation there where we had strikers kind of still coming back from injury or playing themselves out of form, or it was just a weird situation. He was like, is this the man who could be the answer to our prayers? Suddenly out of nowhere, it was a weird roll of the dice from Parky, and it just didn't pay off. But it seems like a very nice guy, and I'm delighted that he's tipped up a bit, and I'm delighted he's doing well, to be honest. So yeah, I would have liked to have seen him knock in a few, and plus he's a massive metalhead, so that bodes well with me as well. So yeah.
As far as injuries are concerned for yourselves, Tim, what's the current state of affairs with Wrexham?
You know what? I was thinking about this then when I knew you were going to ask me, and because the squad's that big, and I'm like, he was injured. So Andy Cannon is the latest one to suffer a big injury, ACL. So that's him out for the season, probably the start of next, I would imagine, which is disappointing because he had something different to what we've got in midfield, just very dynamic, energetic, always on the front foot. So that's a big blow. Callum Burton, strangely, out of a very, very large goalkeeper stable, he's the one that people go, when he came in, he did really, really good. Like, his all-round game was great. And then he got injured. I think it was his knee, and he's kind of like creeping back in now. I think he's back in training on the grass, but probably still not ready yet. I'd probably still say another month, I guess, at least. So that's another one. And then I'm kind of like struggling then, because the ones that we've either had injured or on the periphery have either been moved on or have been out of the picture. Obviously, Mullin, a lot's been said about him, with him not being able to sort of make the step up. And there's an argument that, for 2 years in a row, he's not had a pre-season because of injury or some sort of setback. And, again, I'm not a professional athlete, so I don't know how not having a pre-season would affect you playing catch up with games and stuff. But it's no doubt about it. He's a pale shadow of what he has been for us. we saw that again last night. You know, when he went to take the penalty, I'm not kidding. There must have been about 6-7 people around me go, he's not going to score. And you could sense it. You could sense it, and you could see it in his body language. Like he's one of the best penalty takers I've ever seen for Wrexham, ever, because there's no messing about. It's hit it as hard as you can. And even if you break the goalkeeper's wrist, it's probably still going to go in. That's his version of taking a penalty. It's hit it. He's hit it with such velocity in the past. I'd love to know the speed of it. It's ridiculous. But it was so tame. So he's another one where it's just not quite worked out. Marriott just come back from injury. Started the season great, you know, really good goal scoring form. Is not quite there yet in terms of full fitness, match fitness. And I'm trying to think really. Beyond that, I'm sure there are others. But I can't think off the top of my head who they are. Which is bad, really, isn't it? Because a lot of chopping and changing. I think maybe I'm still in shock from last night. Maybe this is like prolonged, delayed shock. I said it. I said I wasn't bothered, but as soon as this finishes, I'll start crying my eyes out or something. Yeah. But yeah, no, I don't think there's anything. We're in a good spot, squad depth wise and availability wise. We're just not in a good spot form wise. So there's the conundrum for Parky.
Somebody just mentioned, and I'm not sure if it's wishful thinking based on our history against him when he played for Wigan. You know what I'm going to say.
He's not
James,
injured.
How's our James, bless him?
You know what? It's quite a funny thing with James McLean. And I hated him before he played for Wrexham. Yeah. Hated him. I'm sure that's probably the same for most clubs before they play for him. But, you know, he plays for you. I didn't know why I hated him. I just remember when he scored for Republic of Ireland against Wales in a big crucial World Cup qualifier, and he gave it the big one. I was like, I can't stand this man. It wasn't about his political beliefs or anything like that. I had no interest in that.
No,
and he's just a professional wind-up merchant.
Yeah.
He walks away from car crashes with fairly, you know, degree of ease. And he's kind of like wasn't even in the match squad yesterday. He's been taken out of firing line a bit. Captain for the most part this season. Good player, dependable player. Sometimes a little bit too cumbersome. And just like takes too many touches across it in. And it's like you can see the way he shapes before he puts it in. But I think he will almost certainly be back in that squad for Saturday. Almost certainly. Yeah, I just think. I think based on yesterday, some of the players let Parkinson down yesterday, and I think it probably lacked a little bit of leadership. Through the spine of the team, it lacked a little bit of experienced leadership, and that kind of game management that you need to see out a game. You know, we cocked it up at Charlton when we were winning, and they scored last minute, largely because we refused to stick it in a corner. You know, stupid stuff like that. And it was a similar situation yesterday. See your game out, you know. Just
on McLean, my understanding is he's been playing more of a fullback role. Is that correct?
Yeah, we thought. I mean, it might change now because obviously we've sort of brought in Ryan Longman, who can play in that position, and there was a suggestion that they might push James McLean up in the left side of midfield. It's an option. That's the good thing about a lot of players in the squad, that they are movable parts, you know, like a sort of chessboard, if you like.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's good defensively because he's always 2 steps ahead. You know, just from experience wise, his positioning is really good. But if you want to do him for pace, you know, if you've got somebody who's quicker than him, then the chances are that person's going to win that race.
Well, that's exactly why I asked the question, because I think Schumacher's strong point, or what he likes to do, is utilise the wide areas, and we've got 2 wing backs / wingers who we play in Jordi Osatutu and Sabi Sean, who are very, very quick, who both play off either flank as well. So that's maybe a bit of a focus area if he was to start on Saturday at left back, because they're quick lads, especially Osatutu. He's pretty dangerous, and if I was a Wrexham fan, I'd possibly look out for that one as an area of concern, really. I don't know whether you agree with that, Chris.
Yeah, no, very much so. You can see what's coming, can't you? He's gonna play at fullback, and he'll be up against one of them 2, and it's all going to go off, isn't it? It's all going to be horrendous, isn't it? It's going to turn nasty, and it's all.
He hasn't been sent off yet, so it's due, isn't it?
There you go.
The McLean,
stage is set.
The McLean thing with us, though, I think a lot of that was fueled by Ian Evatt, who's no longer our manager. So I don't think he's going to be as prominent as what we're thinking.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, that is a good point. It was quite embarrassing at times because McLean just found it so easy to get under Evatt's skin. It was like, you're a manager, you should be a couple of notches above that now, but he just so wasn't. So
ultimately Ian Evatt's downfall, Tim, in case you're wondering, his inability to be able to manage them situations and manage up and the expectation of what the fans expect that was one of many. It was one of a few flaws with him.
Well, the minute you start telling your fan base to fuck off, that you've just sealed your own fate. As soon as I saw that, I was like, "That's him done. That's him done." But it's weird, isn't it? Because and I don't want to sort of labour the point with Parky, but Parky's a likable guy. He's an amenable guy. Evatt just looked arrogant and stuck his heels in, and it was very, very passive aggressive in all the sort of interviews I did. Like it wasn't his fault. It's everybody else's fault apart from him. So you're the manager. Take some accountability. Otherwise, you'll never get anybody on side.
Really interesting hearing that from the outside looking in. I have to admit, it's clearly somebody who keeps an eye out of what's going on around you, and it's very, very well observed. I think that's fair to say.
It is. It's a good observation indeed. He did have his plus points, but hey, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we're heading down.
Public speaking wasn't one of them.
No. Yeah, and luckily, the manager that we've got now has got a degree in exactly that. So different kettle of fish altogether. So obviously we head down to Wrexham. I think 1,500.
No, just under 1,300. I think we got in the end. Same as the.
He's so excited by that he's froze.
Is he smouldering or is he frozen? Oh, there you go. He's back now. You froze then, mate. Yeah, just under 1,300.
I could hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Can hear you now? Yeah. Let's.
It's the only podcast where you get away with that. It's the only pod where you get away with it. 100%.
So there's going to be one or two thirsty Wanderers fans heading down to Wrexham. So let's find out where they can have a pint, eh? So you, Tim, where they're going for a drink, mate?
Oh, you know what? I mean, there is a designated away fans pub, and it's right at the arse end of town. So, seeing as our podcast is sponsored by a certain group that has various hostelries in the area, I'm going to push them. So you've got a place called the Maes Gwyn, which is Welsh for Greenfield, across the way from the football ground. You can't miss it. There's a big advertising board outside. Very welcoming away fans. Obviously, just don't be a dick, as the saying goes. You'll be very welcome there. Everybody mixes outside. There's loads of outside bars, loads of green space areas. Busy inside, but it will be open early, putting breakfast on and stuff as well. So that's a good one. Obviously, there's a turf, but the turf is a huge tourist magnet these days. Not kidding. Every time I've been in there recently, you will meet people from Nepal, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, Texas. It's just like, what are you doing here? I just don't get it. It's so bizarre, but it's amazing. But it's bizarre. So that's another one. Wrexham Lager Club's really good. That's like a stone's throw away from the ground. Again, you just kind of walk down into town on the right hand side, and there is a members bar, but there's a bit where you can go in, and it's cheap and cheerful. All of our drinks are cheap and cheerful in Wrexham, and Wetherspoon's further downtown. Honestly, there's probably more pubs than people in Wrexham. Sometimes when I think about it, there's a lot. But Maes Gwyn's good. Fat Boar down further into town's really good. Turf, as I mentioned. You want other things that are in closer proximity as well. Where else is there? There's a Plas Cork pub, which is kind of like your typical kind of chain pub, foodie type thing, Marston's Ales kind of pub, which is kind of towards the retail park, Sainsbury's roundabout. Literally, all these pubs I've told you, by the way, but within maximum 10 minutes.
I think the consideration has to be as well the fact that it'll be a swift half.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's an early kick-off as well.
Yeah, and there's also the university next door to the ground, and they've got like the student bar in there now. It's not like your archetypal student bar where there's just vomit and condoms hanging from the ceiling, if that's a thing now. If it ever was, I don't even know what I'm talking about. It's just bollocks. Sorry,
not anymore, no.
Sorry to any students that are listening. It's been stereotypical. But the bar there, I've not been in since they've redone it, but apparently that's quite a football orientated bar, and a shock surprise given everything that's going on. So that's quite good as well. Again, 1 or 2 minutes away. And I guess as long as you don't go in mob-handed with CP Company goggles and a stony on, you'll be grand. And I am being stereotypical now.
Yeah, stereotypes all over the place here. No, listen, thanks very much for that. Really thorough. Appreciate it. Obviously, quite a few Wanderers fans listening to this back, and I'm sure a few will be listening, obviously, on the way down or before the journey to Wrexham. So, yeah, I'm sure they'll be making a note of them locations. So, thanks very much. Right, okay, so prediction time. Please do get your predictions in the chat, and myself and Chris will bring them to you. And, yeah, let's got a feeling it might be a tight one, this, but, yeah, let's see what people are saying. Yeah, just to reiterate as well, of course, Wanderers play Wrexham at 12:30 p.m. on Saturday and not 3 o'clock, which prior to that little pop-up message that came on the screen a second ago, I thought it was. So, yeah, just thought I'd reiterate that. You can clearly see that I didn't get a ticket for the game. They're like gold dust. But, yeah, we'll start with the guest, I think, for a change. Keen to get your thoughts ahead of the weekend, Tim. What are you thinking?
I want it to be, because it's like St David's Day, isn't it? So a nice big Welsh celebration. There's going to be a march on in the town here that day, blah, blah. So you can almost guarantee Wrexham are going to cock it up by losing. My blind faith and optimism is slipping a bit. Not so much through recent results. You just get a feeling, don't you? You just sometimes get a feeling about things, and at the moment it's just not quite there. So I'm going to go. I mean, we were lucky to get a draw at your place. We were fortunate to get a win in the Virtue Trophy. Why couldn't you have just beaten us that day? That would have been easier. So I think it's almost destined to. I think it's going to be a draw. I think it'll be one each. Yeah.
I get the impression that you battled with yourself a little bit to say that draw. Then I think you think.
I just think that mini wobble, if you like, or we talked about inconsistent patches. I just think that's kind of going to continue, and it'll just be that classic case of our home form's got sketchy, and then we go to Huddersfield next Tuesday and beat them. So, and like a draw against Bolton and then a win at Huddersfield, you take that all day long. I think we would take that all day long, but. We're at the business end of the season now. You've got to start stringing some wins together, frantically and fast. So I would be too disappointed with the draw, given recent performances and results. But honestly, you just don't know. At the moment, I don't know which Wrexham is going to turn up. Is it going to be Wrexham at home of old, or is it going to be Wrexham at home of recent weeks? I couldn't tell you. It's very Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, fair enough. It's I get the explanation. It makes sense. David has asked a question that I haven't forgot about, and I will ask in a minute when we've done the little predictions. I have saved it, David, on our little reel, so don't worry, it's in hand. As far as I'm concerned, for us, it is a must-win game. Like Tim has just alluded to, it is, or we are at, or coming to the business end of the season, and we need to continue with these victories and picking up these results if we want to close that gap to, well, unrealistically the top two, but realistically cementing ourselves in that top six. I think that we will go and win 2-1 and it'll be a very, very, very late goal. That's my thoughts. I think I think likely it is we'll go 1-0 up, Wrexham will equalise. Parky will probably think, this will do. We'll sit in and we'll defend the lead and we'll get one late on. That'd be my thoughts, but maybe it's more optimism. I don't know.
You sold it to me, Cole. You sold it to me. I don't think you
sold.
You sold it to me.
No,
I think you've sold it to me.
There you go.
I'm a salesman by trade, so at least I'm doing my job right. So that's good, isn't it? Chris, go on then, mate. What's your thoughts?
I'll blast through some of the viewers' scores before I do, because I don't know what I'm going to go for, frankly. Liam's gone for a Desmond, so 2-2. Matt has gone for a Bolton 2-1. There's a lot of Bolton 2-1 wins. Matthew, David, Jordan, Ian.
Tighter further, like I mentioned.
I'm also on that same vibe, and I'm going to go for a 2-1 as well. I'm going to join the club. However, I don't think we'll take the lead because we just don't do that anymore. It's just not our style to take the lead. So 2-1 Bolton win. Wrexham to score first.
The reason why I said I give the explanation I give, in case you're wondering, is because I think that is something that they'll likely have been working on all week, not to go down first, like we have done in this recent week. So, I think that'll be a heavy focus. So, that's the situation. We have had a question in from David, specifically for yourself, Tim, earlier on. 22 minutes past 8 to be precise. He asked, if Bolton beat you on Saturday, would you be worried that you'll start to fall down the top 6? Thoughts on
that? It's a hard question, It's a hard question. Just because we put ourselves in such a good position that we tend usually to react. If we win a game, or if we lose a game, we'll win the next one. Whether that's how we tend not to sort of do 2 or 3 in a row, if you like. So I wouldn't be overly worried. I think if we lost to Bolton and then lost to Huddersfield, I'd start getting a bit of a squeaky ass, to be honest. I think it's all are the wheels starting to come off. Is this been a bridge too far and they've been lulled into a false sense of security for 3/4 of the season? So I think not yet, and I say that not out of arrogance or sort of cockiness, but I think when this team have done what they've done this season and have been in and around it for the large proportion, and we sort of built steadily, and then we've just been in and amongst it, and we've kept our noses ahead. And there's a moment where Stockport were like 1 or 2 points behind, then we've nudged ahead again, and we've got games in hand on them. So I think realistically, I wouldn't be too concerned. But then if it was a pumping, if it was, I know you said everybody's gives sort of tight predictions, but if it was like a 3-1 or something, I'd be like, Jesus, what has gone wrong? Because everything suddenly we're crumbling like a pack of cards, conceding goals, blah blah blah, and we can't concede goals like we did in the manner we did last night. That's for sure. So that's the long answer. The short answer is not at the moment, because I think that the buffer is there, and I think we're there on merit, and I think the players will probably go, why would we want to undo all this hard work at this point? Our running is considerably more favourable than Wickham's. Not that I'm, just counting anybody else out, but if we're looking at them as the kind of like chase to kind of get that second place, then we have to start believing that we can get over the line. The squad's there, the manager's there. It's just about weaving it together again. And
I think that from the outside looking in, your current situation, Tim, obviously you're currently 8 points, in that embedded, shall we say, in that top 6. And the biggest thing for me looking at it is your significant kind of goal difference on third downwards being 20 points. And, kudos to Mr. Parkinson with the clean sheets, shall we say, which I'm sure you've clearly had plenty of those. That's effectively a point or two in it, really, in that current situation. So yeah, it has to be a monumental kind of collapse, I think, for you to fall out the top 6 from the outside looking in. But who knows? Who knows? Only time will tell. Thank you very much for the 155 people who've watched tonight's episode across all of the social platforms. So thank you very much for that. We will be back with another preview show on Monday evening ahead of Birmingham City next Tuesday. Of course, we'll be on Sunday for the post-match reaction as usual. In between now and Sunday, you fancy winning one of these delightful Fanzone podcast hoodies, there is an opportunity for you to win one of those on Sunday evening. So please tune in. And for as little as, what is it, £1, I think, on YouTube, you can donate.
Minimum
We'll chuck you in. Yeah, minimum stake. We'll chuck you into the pot. We're going to do a live spin the wheel job at the end of the podcast for the winner. So your name will be literally up in lights, and you'll win yourself one of these limited edition, shall we say, Chris?
Well, they are, yeah. There's only 7 of them in existence, Colin. So yeah, I'd deem that as a limited edition.
Yeah, and as far as your chances of winning are concerned, we've currently got 7 entries from the donations that we had through on Sunday evening. That's correct, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah.
So you've got a very good chance if you chuck £1 in the pot. So you have to listen out for that one to get involved.
Before we go, I'd like to something that I picked up on social media earlier, courtesy of Tim's crew at Wrexham. Someone who's close to the Fearless in Devotion podcast sadly passed away recently. I believe that there is a shout that's gone out for a 55-minute applause on Saturday. Tim, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I personally didn't know him, but I've just picked it up off the fan chat group on Facebook and saw it, and I think it's Ben Williams, known as Ben. Passed away 55. It's obviously no age, as they say. So yeah, I think his mates just said it'd be great if they could do a minute's applause in the 55th minute, which would be a nice testament to him. Huge Wales fan as well. My understanding, he used to go to a lot of the games, as do I, and I know the hardship behind that, especially when Wales were absolutely rubbish. So it was all about the trip and nothing else. But yeah, so rest in peace to him. And I think the Bolton fans have always shown themselves to be a class bunch, really. So I'd expect people to join in with that if they'd be so kind.
So to all fans who are travelling down to the racecourse on Saturday, just be mindful of that there is potentially a 55th minute applause for Ben. So, sorry, that's my watch going off now. Sorry for that timing, wasn't it? God blimey. So you could do that. That'd be much appreciated. I'm sure we would expect the same if it was roles reversed. So, yeah.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, no problem at all. And that's it from me. Colin.
That's it from me. And that's it.
Guess that's it from me as well. Yeah. Good luck and enjoy. And it's always nice to be playing grand clubs like Bolton. John McGinley, Okocha, Jaskalainen, got it all in my head. It's like classic shirts, Reebok kits, Burndon Park. I was like, who are these and what are they doing in the Premier League? It was just like wild times, So
we loved it.
Yeah. The legend of Sam Ricketts, that's a different story entirely.
Oh my God.
Yeah, not so much a legend for us.
Cold shivers down my spine.
Legendary snake in the grass for us, but there we are.
What a way to end tonight's episode. Just coming up to 45 minutes on the Sam Ricketts bombshell.
Sorry, Sam.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Have a lovely evening, or what's left of it, should I say. Safe travels down to Wrexham, and we'll see you on the next one.